Hey guys, this is EJ Holland with the Wolverine.com, and I was back on the road over the weekend. Yes, it was the game weekend, but here at the Wolverine, we take covering recruiting very seriously, obviously. So I was back on the road seeing one of Michigan's biggest remaining targets. But before I share the latest on five-star athlete Nyckoles Harbor, I want to invite you guys to subscribe to the Wolverine.com right now, just $10 until next football season. That gets you premium insider recruiting information, team information, basketball recruiting, and you get to be part of a great message board community over on the fort right now for just $10 until August of 2023. Take advantage of the limited time offer. All right, guys, as promised, we're going to share the latest on five-star athlete Nyckoles Harbor out of Washington, D.C., Archbishop Carroll. So had a chance to see Harbor for the fourth time this season. Yeah, the fourth time this season. So I've been out to DC quite a bit, spending a lot of time with Nyckoles Harbor. And this was sad but cool experience. I mean, this was Harbor's last high school football game. So Archbishop Carroll went out in the state semifinals. So this game wrapped up Harbor's career. He is done for the season and will start to fully turn his attention to the recruiting side of things, which he hasn't really had a chance to do. In the summer when a lot of prospects were making official visits, he was running track. In the fall, when a lot of prospects were also making official visits, he had games. Like, a lot of his games were Saturday afternoon games, including the one I went to this weekend. So he didn't have a chance to make a lot of game day visits. He did see South Carolina for an OV. He saw Michigan for an OV. He saw Maryland for an unofficial visit since it's closer to home. But yeah, Harbor hasn't really had that full recruiting experience, and that's why he's taking his decision all the way until February. So no, Harbor will not be making a decision during the early signing period next month. This one is a marathon, not a sprint, as I've been calling it for a long time. Harbor told me not too long ago that he has a tentative decision date of February 1st, which I believe is the day before signing day. Maybe he does it on signing day. But either way, he is going to decide during the late window. And I think December and January will obviously be very key in shaping this recruitment. I like where Michigan stands right now, but we'll see where things sit after his visit. So what's kind of next for Harbor? He is making an official visit to Maryland, despite it being, the home area school. He likes the track program and the track coaches there. Again, it's closer to home, and they've been selling him on being the guy there. So, Maryland will get an OV. Georgia will get an OV, and Georgia's an interesting one. Georgia wasn't in his initial, final group of 5 schools, but the Bulldogs have ramped up their efforts in the Harbor race, and Georgia scares me because obviously they've been great on the field. They're the defending national champions, but even more than that, they're one of the better academic institutions in the SEC, and Harbor, as many of you guys know, is a great student in the classroom, 4.0 kid that, away from his athletic dreams, also aspires to be a neurosurgeon. So Georgia, one of the better academic schools, and their track program is terrific as well. So Georgia definitely becoming a major factor in this recruitment. LSU will get his final official visit, and that's interesting as well. LSU has been a school that's been very, very high on his mind. Also has a great track program, and the Tigers haven't been too bad on the field in Brian Kelly's first year in Baton Rouge. So LSU will also be a school to watch. All the SEC schools, including South Carolina, which received his first official visit, are very climate-friendly, track-friendly, NIL-friendly, and those are things that are probably a negative against Michigan, to be completely honest. I mean, the track program, you can't really run track outdoors year-round, but Michigan does have a great indoor facility. It's certainly not a prestigious track program, but the track coaches have been very involved in his recruitment and selling him on being a guy that can help turn around the culture around the Michigan men's track program. And then NIL, some of the players at Michigan have been doing well on the NIL front, but Michigan's obviously lagging behind what some other schools have done on the NIL recruiting front. So those are two factors against Michigan, but I think the factors in favor of Michigan are, one, he has a tremendous relationship with head coach Jim Harbaugh. Harbaugh is basically the guy that's going to need this to win this recruitment, and I think he's doing a great job so far, along with Ron Bellamy, who is serving as his primary recruiter as well. But I think Harbaugh is going to have to personally win it, and he's doing a fantastic job so far. Two, Michigan is superior academically to his other options. And three, he has been to the state of Michigan since he was a child. His mother is originally from the Detroit area. He also has several connections, to the University of Michigan in general. He views Zia Holman, Michigan's women's track star, as an older sister. They spent a lot of time together when they were competing in the same meets and going through different track events in the DMV. On top of that, like I said, his mother is from the Detroit Metro, so he knows a lot of Michigan alums, family still there. His private track coach is also a Michigan grad, and even his dentist is a Michigan grad. So a lot of connections to the University of Michigan, and he just seems like a Michigan type of kid. He really fits that mold, values both academics and elite football. He knows he can be developed. Now, as far as Harbaugh as a player, we've talked about him a ton. He's obviously a freak at 6'5", 225 pounds, 10.22 100-meter speed, which is crazy. I still love Harbaugh as an edge, and he was great on Saturday as an edge. Was consistently getting after the opposing quarterback, came away with a sack, and he was great just on the defensive side of the ball. On the offensive side of the ball, which is where he wants to play because he wants to preserve his body for track, he was okay. He had a couple of moments as an inline tight end where he made some key blocks. He only had one reception for 11 yards, so not a big day offensively. That's not to say Harbaugh can't become the next Kyle Pitts, but I do think that his biggest upside and his safest projection is at edge. So I'm interested to see how, Michigan or whichever school ends up landing him will figure out what to do with him as a football player. So again, that upside is insane, but the upside that I like the most is definitely on the defensive side of the ball. Michigan will give him a chance to play whatever he wants, and that's why I said Ron Bellamy is leading the way in his recruitment in terms of a staff member as opposed to head coach Jim Harbaugh. Bellamy being the wide receivers coach, Nick wanting to play wide receiver, tight end, and at the next level, Grant Newsome has also been involved in the recruitment as well. So, I think that Harbaugh's just a versatile athlete, and we'll see where the chips fall for him in terms of position and in terms of his recruitment. I think we'll know a lot more about where things really stand with Harbaugh once we get into January and past Christmas. So Harbaugh wasn't the only Michigan target on the field that I had a chance to see this weekend. Also was out there scouting Dylan Stewart. He is the number 1 edge in the 2024 recruiting class and the number 5 overall prospect nationally next cycle. So I had a chance to see the number 1 overall player in 2023 in Washington, D.C., and the number 1 overall player in Washington, D.C. in 2024. And Dylan Stewart, man, he is a monster off the edge. 6'5", 235 pounds, plays with terrific speed, power, uses his hands really, really well. He's even a guy that because of scheme, they decided to move him to linebacker in the middle of the game. They actually adjusted to what the Carroll offense was doing, and they had him line up in a Mike type of role directly over the center, and he was outstanding there. He burst through the line with quickness. He met ball carriers in the backfield. He was super physical, played with a ton of energy. So I was super impressed with Dylan Stewart. I mean, he looks the part of a 5-star prospect for sure. Excited to continue to see him. I also had a chance to see him camp in the offseason at the Ray Lewis camp in Ohio, and he was one of the top performers there. He's just a really big, athletic kid with a ton of upside, and he's further along than even, Nyckoles Harbor as a pure edge right now. I think that Stewart is a surefire hit. I mean, he not only has a high ceiling, but he also has a high floor as well. I think he's one of the safest takes. Obviously, he's ranked super high for a reason. You look at his recruitment, and I mean, it's a national recruitment. You have a ton of schools involved from all over the country. I know South Carolina has his interest early on. Penn State does a great job of recruiting the DMV, as does Ohio State. You have some of the Southern schools involved as well: Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, Texas A&M, etc. But I think Michigan's in that, group of schools early on. Obviously, the Wolverines have done well on the field, but they've specifically done well developing the edge position. Aiden Hutchinson, David Ajabo going high in the draft definitely piques his interest. He had a chance to visit Michigan during the summer and really liked the vibe around campus. He wants to get back for another unofficial visit this offseason. He's developing really good relationships with guys like Mike Elston, Michigan's defensive line coach, and grad assistant Dylan Roney. So I think, everything's kind of checking the box for Stewart. He goes to a competitive academic school at Friendship Collegiate Academy in Washington, D.C. So I think, Michigan can obviously sell education as well. I mean, with Michigan going back-to-back, wins over Ohio State, likely winning the Big Ten championship, potentially another college football playoff berth. I mean, Michigan has to be able to land elite level prospects in 2024. They have to capitalize on that momentum. And I think that, the edge list obviously starts with Dylan Stewart. He's the best in the country and was extremely impressive over the weekend and had a lot of positive things to say about Michigan. So for the full story on Dylan Stewart, for Harbor's reaction to Michigan's win over Ohio State, and everything Michigan recruiting, head over to thewolverine.com. Sign up right now, just $10 until next football season. That's $10 until August of 2023. Appreciate you guys for joining me.